I know something about your son.
Don't do that.
Hey, man, hey, man, take your hands off me. I'm doing it.
Stop, you work for this. You work for this.
I'll bug you.
You work for this.
You trying to tell me about my motherfucking kids. And I'm going to hold you.
What's wrong with him, though?
I don't bust on women.
Why
She trying to say something about my kid. I don't do that. I get it, my baby mama. I get it, everybody. I get it, my own mama about the kid.
You gotta know when you're wrong, though,
I'm not wrong about my kid.
You're wrong.
About what?
About Bam. You gotta calm the down.
I'm calm.
Let's go outside.
Bam do witchcraft, in case people don't know.
Atlanta experienced the typical summer heat, but within the opulent house were Lil Scrappy, and the air that Bambi and she had created together was heavy with a betrayal that was far more dangerous than the humidity. It was a betrayal that threatened to turn love into ashes and destroy everything they had fought for and strived for. It had been weeks of anxiety, with little things slipping through the cracks, mysterious bank withdrawals, and unexplained transfers. And now the truth was undeniable. The money was gone, and the one person she never thought would betray her was the one behind it. Bambi sat in their living room, her heart racing as her phone rang nonstop on the coffee table. She had just hung up with her lawyer, and the news was devastating. A storm she had never seen coming. She took up her phone with trembling hands and looked at the message from her attorney, Erica Dixon, again. The name was like an open sore burning in her chest. The former partner who had always hung over Scrappy's life, Erica, had shared his background with him and had been a member of the family in a way that Bambi could never completely remove. Bambi had always believed that she could trust a distant relative, but nothing more, or so she believed. That the $3 million had been stolen and was flowing through a series of increasingly complicated accounts, but the trail led directly to Erica. Bambi was aware that she needed to tell Scrappy, but as she stood in the center of their house, where they had shared laughs, tears, and dreams, she felt a knot in her stomach tighten. She knew that he would destroy everything, but what other option did she have? Bambi waited quietly for the confrontation, knowing that it couldn't go well, even though she wasn't sure how he would react. Scrappy had been working late trying to finish some music projects that had kept him busy for days. When he finally entered the room, exhausted eyes searched the space. Bambi rose up, staring at him with a chilly expression and shaking palms. She remarked in a tight voice, "We need to talk." He dropped his suitcase beside the door and scowled, "You look like you've seen a ghost." Bambi wasn't sure how to begin. The words felt like a punch to her stomach, and she swallowed hard before speaking the truth, her voice shaking with both rage and bewilderment. "The man you love, how do you tell him someone close stole millions of dollars?" "Erica, she grabbed the money from me and took it." Scrappy froze, becoming rigid all throughout. "What are you discussing? How could she have done that?" When Bambi held up her phone, her voice broke. "I have evidence that the wire transfers are fraudulent accounts. Everything is there. She did it." Tenacious, she accepted the $3 million. The room was so quiet that Scrappy's face became white. As he took in what she was saying, his jaw tightened because he didn't want to believe it. Erica, the idea that his child's mother could do anything like this felt like a stomach punch, even though she had always been involved in their lives in one way or another. Scrappy paced back and forth while running a hand over his hair, his thoughts racing. "Erica, are you certain you understand how things can go wrong? Erica stole your money. If I wasn't certain, I wouldn't be telling you this." Bambi responded icily, feeling the weight of betrayal. "Scrappy, the money's gone. She is responsible for it. She stole from me. I'm not sure how else to put it." Scrappy stopped pacing, and a glimmer of something darkened his gaze. Primal sparked in him feelings of rage, incredulity, and hurt that swirled together. As he realized he didn't know whom to trust anymore, the woman he had been married to and who had given birth to his children was now accusing his ex of something so heinous. But what if it was true? Damn it. Bambi, even though Scrappy and Erica had disagreements, Bambi couldn't handle the pain in his voice. She trusted her as a member of their extended family, and having revealed the truth, there was no going back. Scrappy turned toward the door, clenching his fists, and I must assume he growled, his voice as hard as stone. Scrappy muttered, running his hands through his hair once more. "I need distance." It was a bright summer evening in Atlanta, and while the city was bustling with the typical NTI and neon lights, the air was heavy with tension, rage, and betrayal in one house that was far from the glamour and lights. Bambi had always been the epitome of poise and serenity, with a loving marriage to Lil Scrappy, a growing family, and a steadily rising career. However, everything changed on a quiet Thursday morning when she discovered that Erica Dixon, her husband's ex, had stolen $3 million from her. As she was going through her emails, she noticed an unexpected wire transfer that hadn't come from any of her usual partners. Confused, she checked the details and her heart fell. It was a huge amount of money, more than $3 million, that had been taken out of her account. She had trusted her financial advisor, but something didn't seem right, so she was determined to find out what had happened. After a few days of uncovering the truth, Bambi called her attorney, who conducted a thorough inquiry into her account. Came crashing, the funds had been sent through a number of shell corporations before arriving at Erica Dixon, the person who had previously been a part of their life, but whose shadow seemed to remain for a lot longer than Bambi had anticipated. She had always thought of Erica as a distant part of the past, but now the past had returned with a vengeance, and Bambi couldn't sit with it any longer. Her hands shook as she dialed Lil Scrappy's number, her husband of almost 5 years. It took him a few rings to answer, but when he did, confused, she checked the details and her heart fell. It was a huge amount of money, more than $3 million, that had been taken out of her account. She had trusted her financial advisor, but something didn't seem right, so she was determined to find out what had happened. After a few days of uncovering the truth, Bambi called her attorney, who conducted a thorough inquiry into her account. Came crashing, the funds had been sent through a number of shell corporations before arriving at Erica Dixon, the person who had previously been a part of their life, but whose shadow seemed to remain for a lot longer than Bambi had anticipated. She had always thought of Erica as a distant part of the past, but now the past had returned with a vengeance, and Bambi couldn't sit with it any longer. Her hands shook as she dialed Lil Scrappy's number, her husband of almost 5 years. It took him a few rings to answer, but when he did, the sound of his voice made Bambi's chest heave. Bambi was furious that she had been betrayed not only by Erica, but also by the fact that her trust had been so easily manipulated. "We need to talk," Scrappy remarked, her voice taut with a mixture of incredulity and rage. What transpired was that, although baby Scrappy's voice was calm, Bambi could sense that his tone had changed and that he was already expecting something negative. The person who stole the $3 million was Erica. The kind of scrappy silence that suffocates and thickens the air as the impact of what she was saying set in. Bambi could practically hear his heartbeat pounding through the phone. "Wait, Erica, how could she be Scrappy?" he stammered, his mind obviously reeling from the accusation. "I'm not making this up, Scrappy. I have the evidence, and everything is okay here in black and white." Bambi's voice was shaking with a mixture of sadness and rage. Scrap's feelings were so erratic that he couldn't believe it. His daughter's mother, Erica, had always been a source of contention in his marriage to Bambi, but he never imagined that she would go so far as to steal from his wife. His mind raced, and he had always tried to maintain harmony between them, but now this was too much. He slammed the phone down and fled the house with his fists clenched, needing answers and confronting Erica, but he knew deep down that there was more going on here than he could have ever imagined. In a betrayal that may destroy everything, the guy who had previously attempted to mediate the conflict between his ex and his wife was now being pushed to choose sides. When Scrappy arrived at Erica's house, his anger was already building, but before he could even knock, the door sprang open, and Erica was standing there with a composed expression on her face, as though she had anticipated this meeting. Scrappy remarked in a lovely voice, but there was a hint of harshness and arrogance that made him wonder, "What are you doing here?" Scrappy didn't waste time making small talk. Erica lifted an eyebrow, and her lips curled into a smug smirk, saying, "You think I took it? That's funny. I didn't take anything that wasn't mine to begin with. but it's cute that you think you can protect her. I know what you did, Erica. You took Bambi's money. Even though Scrappy was furious, he maintained his cool. You have no idea what you're doing to Eric. Eric simply laughed, unconcerned if you said, "So Scrappy, but perhaps you should look more closely at who's actually in charge of this. You might learn some things you don't want to know. You're wrong to think I'll let you hurt my wife." Back at home, Bambi sat on the couch with her mind racing and no idea how to proceed as the love of her life was falling apart before her eyes and the woman who had been her biggest rival turned into her worst enemy. She shut the door in his face, leaving him standing there more perplexed and furious than ever. The $3 million was about trust deficits and the possibility of evil behind famous faces. Hours later, Lil Scrappy came home with a confused and irritated expression on his face. He had more questions than answers, but one thing was certain. Their lives would never be the same again since the battle lines had been established and nobody knew how things would turn out in the end. As the story progressed, it became evident that this was more than just a financial loss. Rather, it was a battle of loyalty, love, and the harsh reality that sometimes the people you love can betray you in ways you never saw coming. In the crushing silence, Bambi and Scrappy faced each other in the hallway. Neither of them knew how to fix this or how to repair the damage that had been done. And in the middle of it all, Erica's smile lingered in their thoughts as a reminder that sometimes even the people you trust the most can be your greatest enemies.